All right, FlatsClass, Captain CA in the house, or in the classroom, I should say. My studio is a virtual classroom, and we are moving through some colder winter days right now, so I've got a day off the water, and I thought that I would actually teach you something about what fish see with their eyes. So in the past, I have talked to you guys and we've had lessons on some of the mistakes that inshore anglers make. And I've just did one probably about a month ago. And that's based off my formula for success. And my formula for success with most of my charter clients is that lure speed is number one. Number two in the equation would be picking the right size bait and or profile. Are you picking a crustacean? Are you picking a minnow profile? Are you picking 3-inch? Are you picking 5-inch? It matters. And then thirdly, the third or least important part of that equation is vision. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is that vision. If you can seal the deal with the right lure speed and tempt them and then get them moving toward it because you know that you've got the right profile, the right size bait, well, then it really comes down to color. What do they see? Well, some of you would argue with me that when you get to a point where you've got, well, less than optimum light conditions, or you have poor water clarity, those would diminish some of your opportunity and it would make you choose different colors. First thing you got to understand is fish see differently than we do. Now, at the risk of making my lure partners upset with me, there's a reason why we make 180 different color baits. It's because we want you to buy 180 different color baits. But it's also to satisfy every region, every geographic area, every water clarity situation, all these different things. I'll give you an example. If my success formula that I just spoke about is challenged, it's usually by those that want to say, okay, well, I'm fishing less than better, good light, and I don't have great water quality. And in those cases, the sound or vibration of the bait might be more important. And then secondly would probably be the ability of that said bait to have some aroma, some scent to it. And then lastly, color plays a factor again, which would open up a bunch of conversations about darker baits or high contrast baits or vibrant color baits. But none of us know what the fish see. And then from species to species, like redfish and flounder, they rely on different senses than sight feeders like speckled trout and snook and tarpon. So I'm going to send you off to watch this short video of my wife angling for a snook. And while you guys are being entertained, and she's using a color like this, which is pinfish, I am going to talk about that typical scenario that most of us would run into. And then I'm going to talk about how I like to group colors. And I think it'll be an interesting conversation when we talk about how these fish really see your lure. Go to it. Go watch. I'll be right back. Pull down. Keep your balance. Come back here if you need to. Come back here if you need to. Gotta go around me. What do you got? Nice snook. I'm coming down. Hold on the Z-Man. Z-Man pinfish color. On the little chin locks. Alright, we're gonna release this fish. Let's get him down here.
Okay. All right. There you go. Okay. Got him?
Mm-hmm. Just swim right out of your hand.
Okay.
Lift him up a little bit. There you go.
Okay, gotta let go, man. Just got my nails done. You're scratching them all up.
Grab him by the tail. Get your hand out of his mouth and he'll swim off.
Okay.
And look at that, you're back. She's a good angler and she's always learning. She relies on me quite heavily to always make the decision on what color to throw, where to throw it oftentimes, but over the years, I've watched her intuitiveness graduate, basically, where now she picks out likely spots to cast, and I don't have to talk about how when we're in clear water, we can throw the cast further and further apart because the fish can see much further, especially in high sun. And when we're in dirty water, vice versa, where she has to throw closer to where her last cast was and chop the water a little bit more. And I'll explain. First thing you need to understand is the way a fish's eye works. And I've learned this basically from my contemporaries, guys like Flip Pallet and other guys I've asked this question to that have a lot of experience in the field, and even hunters. How fish see? Well, it's a well-known fact that fish can see through the water 4 or 5 times further than humans can. Now, in many cases, fish are looking up through the water and they can see even farther. But if you can imagine, most of us that are inshore anglers that are fishing anywhere from 18 inches and 2 foot of water up to 6 feet of water, that 1 fathom number, most of the fish are seeing through all the particulate in the water straight through. Now, if the human eye can see 18 inches with some great certainty, you can imagine that a fish would be able to see 6 feet, maybe a little bit more, maybe even 7 feet, but 6 feet. That's quite a good distance that you could draw a strike from. If you're in nice, like clean water, let's just say where maybe you can see 3 foot, because it's a lot easier to see up through the water, like I said earlier, than it is to see through the water or even look down sometimes where you lose the light. Let's just say you can see 3 foot deep. They can see 12 to 15 feet. That's a lot. That's a lot. So if fish can see so well, how does the prey have a chance? Here's how they have a chance. They're naturally camouflaged. So I pose this question all the time because one of the favorite lure colors of all time that's in every one of your tackle boxes is white. We all have white in there. We all have a bone white, pearl blue glimmer, something like this. We all have those colors in our tackle bags. But that is the one color that nature has provided bait fish to make them invisible to the predator. Think about that. If all these bait fish were colored something that we could see, chartreuse and pink, they wouldn't last any time. And predators would make themselves virtually extinct pretty quick. So they're naturally camouflaged. So here's something I want you to chew on. Ever wonder why your grandpa, whoever taught you how to fish, told you that the best time to fish is the first thing in the morning and the last thing in the afternoon as the light's going away? And why is that? And I'm betting because the majority of the lures that we throw are that white or silvery gray look. And that is when they're actually the most visible. And that's why fish kind of get aggressive in that lower angle light, whether it's first light or last light. When that angle is low like that and they start hunting shadows, it becomes a great color. It's why many of you, even with natural bait, will skip a pilchard up underneath a shadow line, like a mangrove tree shadow line, and have great success. It's because that pilchard shows up better in that shadow than it does out there in that bright light where it kind of goes away. Why do you think the FWC and the Navy paint their vessels that light gray, that we call it battleship gray? You know why? Because it's the first color that goes away on the horizon. You can't see it. Similarly, things happen like that in the water as well. They're harder to see during the brightest parts of the day. It's also why bait fish have that darker back, because then they're vulnerable from the pelicans and the terns and everything else. Now, I want to talk a little bit about a group of colors I got here and that pinfish color that Blondie was throwing. Let's talk about it. Talking about color. And I like to group them into, there are unnatural colors, there are natural colors. Those are the obvious. But within the natural colors are a lot of translucent type baits, ghosty like baits that work, well, rather well in pressured water. They work good in crystal clear water. And in some cases, they're the best color to pick. But let's just talk about unnatural first. When would you use them? You would use unnatural colors. I'm gonna pick up a few here. Sexy penny. That's something you don't see every day. Like I showed you before, tater salad. Don't see that one every day either. And then electric chicken. These are unnatural colors. Now, there's a little translucency to these baits, but for the most part, I call them more like clown colors, really bright. When are you using them? I'm gonna say in certain regions, you can use them all day long, but most of the time when I think I want to use those colors is number one, water clarity sucks. So it's more turbid, more milky, smoky, just does not have a lot of depth to it. And I'm trying to bring some notoriety to the bait where they'll find it easier. That's when I'm going to use those. Low light, I'll use them in low light. I'll use them fishing deeper. Light goes away, the penetration of the light goes away as you get a little bit deeper. So if you're fishing 6, 7, 8 feet of water or deeper, those brighter colors do much better. Now let's talk about natural colors. There are tons of natural colors. I mean, tons. And in my opinion, colors like smelt, very natural color. Colors like pearl blue glimmer again, very natural, one of the best selling colors all time at Z-Man. The Deal, my guys are using this all the time. And then something like Pinfish that Blondie caught her snook on. Supernatural colors. Now, how do you make those things work when I say, well, the bait is naturally camouflaged? You have to make the presentations closer together so that the fish can see them a little easier. If you're fishing, if one cast is here at 12 o'clock and then the next cast is at 2 o'clock, and these are long casts, I'm assuming you guys can cast a long way, that's a big distance. When I use natural translucent colors, like smelt, like the Deal, even like Pinfish, I like the casts to be close together. And that way I know the fish has a good opportunity to see regardless how clear the water is. Two of the most translucent natural colors, I say they're natural, would be my Beer Run color, which is a very popular color here. It's kind of a glow back and a clear translucent glow belly, gold belly. And then the Dark and Stormy, pale washed out, almost iridescent purple back, very speckled trout-like, like a baby trout, clear ghosty belly with silver flake in it. Super clean, I mean super clean. And when you fish those baits, again, you gotta fish them closer to, the cast gotta be a little bit closer together if they're gonna be in perfect sunlight. They've got to be that way. Now, you might say, so how can I tell if a bait is translucent, or like these baits, Houdini is opaque. Redfish toad, that's an opaque bait. Even Purple Demon is an opaque bait. Gold Rush, opaque bait. Even though it's got glitter in it, where there's going to be a clear belly, the majority of the body you can't see through. So how do you tell? If you take a bait like Beer Run and you hold it up to light, you can take a picture of it and you can see through most of the bait. The light comes through the bait. That tells you instantly that bait is harder to see. It's a better trick-em bait, but it's harder to see. If you've got conditions where you've got to catch a fish, and you've really got to catch one like now, and you're power fishing and you're throwing further apart, then these opaque colors like Houdini and like Gold Rush and like Redfish Toad, these are better colors because they're seen farther away. Because when you hold those up, well, I'm holding Houdini up. When I hold it with the light behind it, it looks black. That's why Purple Demon is such a good color. It is such a good color. We just made a dump on the Captain CA site about Plum Crazy, and it sold out immediately because people that know, well, they know. They know it's a good color because they can throw a wider swath of water and cover it more efficiently. But let's talk about how I like to use these baits. All right, like I said, all the colors are in play. They're all in play. And region to region to region, and this is where I'll get pushback or in the comments. Well, I live in Texas. And in Texas, we like to throw white with a red tail, or we like to throw purple with a chartreuse tail. Morning glory is what we call that color. Or, hey, I live in North Carolina, electric chicken. That's the only bait I catch them on. And even here on the Nature Coast, where I reside and I fish 75% of the time, I would have most of my guys argue with me that if you're not throwing a Night Glow 5-inch jerk shad, you just ain't catching them. And that is a confidence bait around here that several professional guides have made, famous. But I am here to tell you, I throw a full gamut of colors and they all work, catching the same fish, because I'm picking the right size bait and I'm working it at the right speed. And then based off water clarity, light conditions, and in my opinion, sometimes matching the hatch, I'll pick a bait. But it is always my third consideration, and it always will be. It's always the third consideration. Around here, I have a lot of success with Beer Run, especially in the shallow water around here. It works great. Water's clear. It's not got enough depth to really hide this bait. It looks like everything, depending on which profile you pick. If you have it as a swim bait, looks like a pinfish. If you have it in a glide bait like this little 4-inch jerk shad and you hop it the right way, looks like a shrimp flicking through the water. All of them look good. It doesn't matter. If I'm fishing with clients most of the time, I'll have one throw, maybe a 4-inch deal. That's a good size to throw. It has a big enough boot tail to make a good signature in the water. This one is bicolor. I hold it up to the light because I've got light over here. The belly is completely translucent, but the back is dark. It's really dark. And when they look like this, it's easy for fish that are looking through the water to say, that's a fish going right there. It looks different than everything else. And it's just that shadow is perfect. Many of these opaque baits, like I said, they throw a dark shadow, so they're easy for fish to locate and find, even though it might not be the color that they're tuned into. Like I said, that purple, perfect example. If you're fishing for redfish, redfish are a little bit different, like flounder. They feel the vibration, the sound, the lateral line picks it up, and then their eyes kind of zone in on it after they pick that up. And then their olfactory senses play a big role too. So if you've scented a bait or whatever down in the grass, you're working it slower, it works really well. But when you think of how many times you've gone speckled trout fishing, and those fish are just like assassins in the grass, racing up to hit something, almost everything a speckled trout sees is silhouetted by the ceiling, by the surface of the water, whether that be a gray sky, a blue sky, or whatever. What color do you think they see the most? Dark. It's just dark. That's what they see. They see a dark silhouette. Snook, on the other hand, are current feeders. They're sitting there and they line stuff up that's swimming in front of them. They put themselves in a position in shadow or whatnot for when a fish passes by, all they have to do is see them. And they're big and strong. And if that fish is out there 10, 12, 15 feet away, they can make a couple of kicks, go out there and get them. And that's why we're addicted to snook fishing. The strikes are so vicious and so explosive, and they run that far out to hit that bait, and then they run right back to the cover. And that's what makes snook fishing, well, addictive in a way. But all I'm really trying to drive home today is the fact that fish vision is such that they have to notice the bait. All I want you to take away from this is it's not as important as your lure speed or the size of the bait that they're tuned into, or profile in this case. And then lastly, that color just has to be a color they see well and you have confidence in. That's it. You pick whatever you want. That's the cool part about doing it. The fly guys do it all the time. They tie all kinds of stuff and name it. Guys tinker all the time with plastisol baits, changing colors and pouring their own colors and making jig heads. It's because the color is the third consideration always. It just is. There's a few cases where it might not be, and I'm sure I'm going to hear about them. But I'm just telling you, you get that lure speed, you get that size right, you're probably going to do okay. If you get the color right, then it's going to be one of those days that you're going to put in your logbook. If you like what you're learning here at FlatsClass YouTube, I encourage you to subscribe. We can't get to the next level without more of you subscribing. And 2, tell all your friends about us. In 2023, we want to make this channel such that we can produce almost a video a day for you. All right, I've got to go back to work because I'm working on the next video. Until then, you guys watch for us in 2023. This may come out right after the new year, but if it doesn't, you'll be ready for us.